Hey friends, I'm Liz Holtzman, and you are listening to the Simplified podcast. If you're looking for a quiet place where you can filter out the noise and the hustle, this is it. Every week, we invite you to slow down and join us to explore practical ways to organize and automate the complicated parts of life so that you can focus on what truly matters most. Before we hop into today's episode, I would not be the good friend that I am if I didn't take a second and tell you about our brand new desk collection that just launched over at emilylay.com. They're the perfect way to refresh your desk or your office space, wherever that may be for you. We've got a desk jotter that is perfect for keeping track of those random notes that just sort of pop up throughout the day. A gorgeous navy folio. It is beautiful leatherette. It's just to die for. A keyboard weekly notepad and a few patterned pen cups. They're so cute. Trust me, you just have to see the gorgeousness for yourself. Head over to emilylay.com now to check them out and add to cart because I promise you, you will not be able to resist. Well, hi everybody. I am so glad you're here today. This is Liz. I'm the marketing director for Simplified, and this is my very first episode where I'm sort of taking over, and I am so super pumped about it. So, a little bit about me. I'm 29. I'm releasing my age into the universe. I'm a Chicago native, but I have lived in St. Louis for a few years now, and I love it. My husband, David, and I have been married for 4 years and some change. And at the time that I am recording this episode, we are about to welcome our first little one into the world after quite the IVF journey. I'm sure that we will talk about that on another day. I have worked my whole career in marketing, but I have been a Simplified fan for years and years. I got my first Simplified planner in about 2016, I think, maybe even 2015. And I have been in love with this brand ever since, like so many of you. I always told myself that if there was ever a marketing job that opened up at Simplified, I would apply, no questions asked. And then lo and behold, last year, it did. And here I am, currently sitting at my desk at my dream job. Pinch me. Absolutely. Maybe actually don't pinch me because I don't want to wake up from this. So maybe don't. It has been so fun to go from admiring this brand to thinking about how to serve you best right where you are, because I've been right where you are. I am right where you are. And just like Emily, I want to put tools in your hands that will help you figure out how you want to use your time, or help you put meals on the table for you and your family, or help you figure out something that's a little bit harder that you're struggling with. Maybe something like anxiety. I don't know. Can I be real with you for a sec? Anxiety is something that I struggle with hard. And it's something that I have struggled with for a really long time, ever since middle school, elementary school, probably even earlier than that, preschool. It's something that has made me feel so lonely because for the longest time, I thought I was the only person who was dealing with this kind of overwhelm. I thought I was the only person dealing with these kinds of big feelings that could literally stop me in my tracks at any time and totally derail my day. Derail my life, actually. Dealing with my anxiety has been quite the journey. Our producer, Amy, is coming on to talk with me about it because talking about this stuff by yourself can feel a little weird and extra lonely, but talking about it with somebody else just makes me feel so much better because even though we tell ourselves, I'm the only person dealing with this, I'm the only person who feels this way, I can assure you that you are definitely not. I'm in a place today in my life where I feel really happy with where I am. I still deal with anxiety. In fact, I have come to accept that anxiety is just something that will live with me forever. And that is okay. I'm actually glad. I have gotten to a place where I'm glad that I know that about myself, because now I know how to be my own best advocate, and I know how to care for myself. And that is something that has really helped me on this journey. So I'm glad you're here today, friend, and I hope you find something meaningful in this conversation with me and Amy about anxiety.
Well, hi, Liz.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for chatting with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad to. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Tell me about your journey with anxiety. I know it's something that you struggled with for a long time, and I know it's kind of something that's changed a lot over time. So when did you notice that this was something that you struggled with in a really real way? What did that look like for you?
I wish my mom was here to talk about this because she's the one who noticed it first. Realistically, I think before we had a name for it, I was in preschool and didn't want to go to school. I was scared. I would cry. And it was enough of it was disruptive enough. I would miss, a couple days of school a month, where there were days where I just couldn't do it. Some days were harder than others. And as a kid, I just had no idea just the gravity of what was happening. I just knew all the other kids could go to school and I couldn't. And so at that point, I was really young, and I'm probably butchering some of these dates or years, I should say. But at that point, they wanted to try medication. And I was just so, as a probably second, third grader, very adamant with my mom, like, no, I don't want that. And so we didn't. My mom filled the prescription and it sat in her medicine cabinet for years and years and years. So the fact that she listened to her third grade kid, I think says a lot about her and our journey together. Because it really was a journey together through my anxiety as a kid. So it was a lot of that for years and years. And then seventh grade came around and everything changed in a not good way. And I was sitting in third period, and I now know the language to use, but at the time didn't, had just an immense panic attack, and had no idea what was happening to me or to my body. I was sweating, I was nauseous, my heart was pounding. I just had all of the very typical, what I now know as panic attack symptoms, all hit me for the very first time. And from that day, for the rest of the year, from that day on, I really refused to go to school. School refusal is really kind of what they called that. And there was no, quote unquote trigger. That was what so many people had asked me. Every doctor we went to was like, well, what happened? I'm like, nothing happened. And that made me feel so damaged and so broken. Like nothing. I'm reacting to something that at that time in my brain told me didn't exist, and I don't know what's wrong. I don't know. I just can't get out. I can't go to school. That summer, my mom, God bless her, she worked so hard and tirelessly to help me and to figure, this was a long time ago. I'm almost 30 years old, and I know that that's not very old, but you think about just socially and culturally and societally, the conversations that we have around anxiety and depression, and specifically in kids, what that looks like today versus what it looked like, 15, 20 years ago. It's so different. It's so different. So for a lot of that, my mom was doing a lot of the work on her own in, kind of pre-internet, pre-Facebook, all of the things that we know today as resources my mom didn't have at her fingertips. So I am so grateful that she did so much of the work that she did. So she found an outpatient program specifically for school refusal. She called and explained our situation, and the head doctor who was running the program, Dr. McGrath, who I still to this day would love to write a letter to and thank him for everything that he did. He does not remember me, but he answered the phone and listened to my mom and answered questions. And he just said to her, "Oh, we can help her." And my mom just broke down crying, like nobody had ever told her that before. And he did. And they did. It was a several week long intensive program. My parents had to physically, literally drag me out of the car into the hospital every single morning. I hated every single second of it while I was doing it, but it was life-changing for me. It was life-changing. So that is a very, very long-winded answer to your question about what that started and how that what that looked like.
Yeah.
But that was really how I knew it was very real, and continue to struggle with anxiety since then in a lot of different ways. But that program was really a game changer for me and very formative for my little brain.
Yeah. Well, kudos to your mom, you know what, for doing that kind of work, because we take so much for granted with how much information's at our fingertips now, especially when it comes to mental health. I feel like that was something probably people knew in the fringes, you know what I mean? But we just didn't have avenues to talk about it openly. I just remember as a kid, honestly, the only mental health access I really had was Oprah every day at 4:00. She was the only person I knew who was talking about that stuff, you know?
That was absolutely a formative. I could talk forever about our relationship and how formative that experience was just for us even today, and the women that we have become and the relationship that we have now. But
tell me about that.
She was a rock star. It was rocky.
Yeah.
And she will be very okay with me sharing this with the world because it's something we talk about a lot. She was frustrated. She was frustrated with me and with everything that was going on. And there was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of yelling from me to her and vice versa, because she was so, I think about, as I'm sitting here days away from welcoming my son into the world, I don't want to start crying, but you think about, she saw me suffering so badly and how there was nothing she knew. She didn't know how to help. She didn't know what to do or where to go, and how frustrating that had to have been for her. I can only imagine what that felt like for her. And so that year was rocky for us. There was a lot of yelling. Our house was not always fun to be in.
Yeah.
But we always, my younger brother would come home from school at the end of the day at 3:00, and the day reset. It was like we were all back together, and Dad would come home from work, and every night was a good night. And, we would start over again the next day, and it would be the same, the same crap show every day. But we are so much closer now, I think, because of what we did together then, because we did it together. We did it together.
Yeah.
I really told myself I wasn't going to cry here.
It's okay.
This is hard. We did it together. Woo!
It's hard and it's messy. Gosh, you guys are both so strong for pushing, you know?
Yeah, it was really messy. That's such a great word for it. And we can talk about it now, and we do talk about it to such great lengths. And so, for context for everybody, I'm having a baby on Saturday, and it's currently Tuesday. So my parents are coming into town on Friday, and I said to my mom, that is awesome that you're coming on Friday, but I know myself, and I know that I will be very anxious on Friday. So I think if it's cool with you, I would love to have Friday night just with David and my husband and I. And she texted me right back, and I could tell that maybe she was a little bummed. And then several hours later, I got a text from her saying that she's so proud that I know myself. She said, about Friday, I get it. And I'm so proud that you know yourself enough to be able to tell me that and to say that to me. And your son is really lucky. It means so much to me to hear her say that and to read those words, because I have worked so hard on learning myself and standing up for myself and drawing boundaries where I need to make me a happy, healthy person. And that's not easy for me as a people pleaser. It's hard. It's hard work. But it pays off,
Yeah.
And over the years, it has stirred the pot, and it has ruffled feathers with not just my family, but with others, which is, again, for me as a people pleaser, one of the worst, one of my biggest fears is ruffling feathers. But it has been such an important lesson for me to learn that I can come first, and learning myself has been such a crucial part of my anxiety journey that has been probably the hardest part of it, I would say.
Yeah. Who taught you how to do that? Or is that innately built into you? You're in 3rd grade knowing yourself enough to say, no, I don't want to take medication. And I feel like being able to do that, draw that boundary and stand up for yourself, that's really brave,
Yeah.
Did anybody teach you how to do that?
No, I don't think so. I have always had strong role models. Both of my parents are incredibly strong individuals, and so I'm sure watching them walk through life and, standing up for themselves, I'm sure helped me in that department. But I think, for so long, even through high school, through college, in a lot of ways, I would say yes to things that I knew made me anxious. Like I would say yes to weekend trips. I would say yes to, to dances. I would say yes to things that I knew I didn't want to do because other people expected me to do that.
Yeah.
And why? Who cares if I go to homecoming? Like, who cares if I am miserable and if I will be an anxious wreck for days before going on a girls' trip or whatever? Like, who am I trying to please? So I think it was a lot of trial and error. It was not me being in third grade and being this strong. Yes, that did happen for sure, but it wasn't always that way. That wasn't the norm. There was a lot of people pleasing and there was a lot of yes saying, and then getting myself into situations that I hated, where I was miserable and so anxious. And for what? For, appearance, just to please other people and to say that I'm doing the things that other kids or other people my age are doing. So I think it was a lot of hard lessons learned of getting myself in situations where I was anxious and I was miserable and I didn't understand. I got to a point where I didn't understand why I kept doing it. And so little by little and choice by choice, started really being honest with myself and, okay, is this really something you want to do? Or are you going to be so mad at yourself the day that this event comes up for saying yes to it? And of course, that's not to say that there aren't times where I push myself, because I know that even if I'm anxious, it's worth it. Or if it's something that means a lot to somebody who's very special to me, things like that, there are absolutely exceptions to that rule. But I am much more selective today in the things that I do and the yeses that I give than I ever was before, just because I've given myself the grace to put myself first sometimes. And it's okay if that ruffles other people's feathers, because I know that I'm taking care of myself. And that's something that has become really important to me, is taking care of myself and my mental state.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because you are always the one who is living with you, and you're the only one who knows how to best take care of yourself. So that's a really good word.
You know how they say mom just knows best? My mom always does, like without fail. So when she told me about this new laundry detergent that she has been using, I maybe snuck into the laundry room and borrowed some from her. And can I just say, I am hooked. That is an understatement. It looks like a dryer sheet, but it's actually laundry detergent. It is so cool. It's called Earth Breeze. Earth Breeze has made the whole concept of laundry detergent just better all around. Their packaging is super compact and biodegradable. Plus, their eco sheets are safe for sensitive skin. And if you need to make things really easy and automate your laundry detergent, Earth Breeze is here for you. They have flexible subscriptions where all you have to do is choose your scent and schedule your delivery. And if you need to, you can pause or cancel your subscription at any time. So listen, these eco sheets are absolute magic. They dissolve 100% in any wash cycle, hot or cold, and they work in high efficiency machines too. All you have to do is just toss in a sheet and start your laundry for a super powerful clean. And that is the level of easy that I am looking for in my life right now. I don't know about you. Guys, now is the time to try Earth Breeze, because our listeners can subscribe and save 40%. Yeah, 40. Go to earthbreeze.com/simplified to get started. That's earthbreeze.com/simplified for 40% off. earthbreeze.com/simplified. Welcoming our first little one into the world put a lot of things on my to-do list that I had never thought about before, like figuring out what to do to make sure that our son is protected no matter what. Our search for life insurance led us to Fabric, and I couldn't possibly be happier. Fabric by Gerber Life is the easy one-stop shop you need with life insurance and other finance solutions all in one place. It was designed by parents for parents to help you get a high-quality, surprisingly affordable term life insurance policy in less than 10 minutes. You could be offered coverage instantly with no health exam required. And not only can you find affordable term life insurance with Fabric, you can also create a will, access college savings funds, and more tools to help protect your family's financial future, all in an easy online experience. Take my word for it, the peace of mind is absolutely worth it. So protect your family today with Fabric by Gerber Life. Apply today in just 10 minutes at meetfabric.com/simplified. That's meetfabric.com/simplified. MEET fabric.com/simplified. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions.
I'm kind of wondering about this part of your journey. So when it comes to medication, I feel like, there's a lot of us who think, man, that's wonderful that medication worked for her, but maybe I don't need it, or I just don't think that's for me. That's a huge decision. So what's your experience been like with medication? And let me just say, first of all, listeners, that this is the time where I give you a caveat that this is Liz's experience. You should absolutely consult your doctor and your mental health professionals to say, just to see what's right for you.
We are no doctors, so please do your own due diligence and talk to the people you need to talk to.
Only English degrees.
Yes. I have been on every side of this spectrum. So like I said, when I was really little, I was very averse to trying medication. 7th grade, the really hard year, we were desperate. And so I tried a lot of different things. It was many years later. My parents were, and a lot of them either did nothing, I didn't feel a difference, or I hated the way they made me feel. And so I went for a lot of years feeling that way and not having any interest in trying anything. And when I was in college, seeing a therapist, of course, as I recommend everybody do, can I just say, even if you don't struggle with anxiety on a regular basis, get a therapist because they're so great. So that's my PSA for the day. But I was seeing my therapist in college and was just struggling with things on a daily basis. Going to the grocery store would be very overwhelming for me. Little things would be very overwhelming for me. Not little things, I should clarify. They felt big to me. And she had suggested maybe looking into medication again. And of course, my first reaction was absolutely not. I'm not interested. It's not going to work. Thanks, but no thanks. Which she accepted very, very calmly and very kindly. But the longer things went on and the more I just started reflecting on okay, why am I saying no? And realizing, one, how much I had grown, both physically, emotionally, all of the things since our last attempt. I slowly became more and more open to the thought of trying medication again. So I talked with my doctor and we started on a low dose. And let me also say, there are all kinds of different routes to get to this point. Whether or not you decide to take medication, obviously, of course, is all up to you. But there are also all kinds of different medication. Some work for some people and others work for others. And so as crappy as it is, it's very much trial and error, but you get there. You get there. So that was kind of, it was a trial and error process of trying things. And I got lucky, and it was probably the second medication that we tried. And I just started realizing slowly how my daily life changed. I felt lighter is the best way to describe it. It just level sets me in a way that nothing else does and brings me to a more level playing field. And I am so grateful. I am so grateful for it. It just makes my daily life so much more comfortable. I can go to Costco on a Sunday and not have a meltdown in the freezer aisle, which sounds silly, but that was a real thing, you know? Again, I am not a doctor, nor do I ever claim to be. So do your research and talk with your own doctor. But for me, it has been such a life-changing game changer.
I'm so glad to hear that. And I feel like anything that has such a big day-to-day impact for you, because like that's just, that's every day. We're all having to go to Costco. We're all having to go somewhere. We're all having, social situations, whatever. So
Absolutely.
I'm just glad that you found something that worked for you,
Me too.
So you talked about this earlier, like our brains as adults are, they're a lot different than when we're kids. Our brains stop cooking when we're 25, for lack of a better word. So, and I feel like the things that we struggle with, they change over time. So what does anxiety look like for you besides, like, I'm glad you can go to Costco now, but like what other kinds of things do you struggle with? Like, do you have any triggers? Like, how do you know when anxiety is coming on? How do you guide yourself through it?
Such a good question. People pleasing is a real source of anxiety for me. Anytime I think that anybody might be upset with me, that sends me into a tailspin. Social situations, of course, a lot of social situations will get me. Traveling for some reason I love doing it, but I'm always anxious when I'm doing it. Anytime I'm away from home, the older I get, the more anxious I am about bad things happening to the people that I love, which I think is very normal. According to my therapist tells me that that's normal anyways. I worry about my parents and my husband and my dog and my son and, the things that you just can't control. And I think that's a very normal thing to be anxious about. So yeah, it has absolutely changed a lot over the years. But I know myself and I know when I feel that coming on, and I now have tools in my tool belt and things that I can do to help myself in those situations and to help kind of bring myself back down. Not like it works seamlessly every time, all the time, but I'm much better equipped now than I was as a kid.
So, I think about how if we're lucky enough, we have these people in our lives who kind of like serve as our foils. And I'm a lot like you in the fact that I'm, I deal with anxiety a lot. And so I will head for, forest for the trees really quickly. Like I'll just get mired in the details. And I have those people in my life who just kind of like pull me back and are like, wait a second, like, there's a different way to look at this. And I feel like your husband, David, is one of those people for you. Can you talk about David? How does he help you like see a new perspective? How does he remind you to take care of yourself? That kind of thing.
So David and I have been together for more than 10 years, which is absolutely insane that I'm old enough to have been with my partner for that long. Makes me feel very old. We started dating when I was 19. So I was a baby.
Yeah.
And another very important note is that David does not have anxiety. He does not suffer from anxiety. He is one of the most happy-go-lucky, carefree people I know, which makes him a very stark, puts him in very stark contrast to me, which honestly is great. And he, even from day one of us being together, he took the time to learn my anxiety. And as someone who doesn't understand what that feels like or what it looks like or anything, he took the time to ask questions about, okay, so what about this is making you anxious? And let's talk through that just so that I know better for next time. Or how can I help you right now? What do you need from me? And it did take a long time. He is very much someone who wants to fix things, which I think is very, I hate to throw the stereotype, but I think is very male.
Yeah.
He wants to fix things. He wants to be the one to put it all back together and make me feel better immediately. And that's just not how anxiety works. There's nothing that you can say or tell me right now in this moment that's going to make me feel totally better, because my brain isn't functioning from a rational place right now. When I'm spiraling, my brain isn't thinking logic like yours is. So even just him learning, one, that's what he does. That's his default, is to fix things. And learning that about himself, first of all, and then trying to not do that and just being there with me. And again, that's not what everybody with anxiety needs. It is not a one size fits all thing. But for me, just knowing that he hears me and he sees that I'm in a moment right now, and someone to sit with me in that space helps me so much. And he very much is the one to reframe things of, so, okay, if that were to happen, so what? So what if somebody's mad at you? Then what? You've got me. Like, we have each other. You have family who loves you. You have, he is very good about laying out the literal repercussions of whatever it is my brain is spinning through, and if I've got a day where I'm like, oh my God, my day is so busy. I'm so anxious. I've got all of these things. I'm anxious about all of them. He is the first one to say, okay, let's write them down. Like, stop taking them all in one big chunk and let's look at each thing individually and let's tackle it. And then we move on to the next thing. He is just the perfect balance for me in a lot of ways, but anxiety in particular.
Well, he loves with curiosity too, It sounds like he stays really open, and that's such a tricky thing to do. It's really vulnerable to just be like, you know what, we're just gonna try this out, especially if he's a fixer, like immediately, let's go, like in the moment,
Yeah. And for him to just admit, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how to help. But I'm willing to learn and I want to learn. Yeah. Loves with curiosity. That is such a great way to put that.
Speaking of your husband, he said something that I thought was incredibly wise. He said that you'll be so much more equipped to help your son if he struggles with anxiety or mental health, You'll know what to look for. You'll know where to get some help. And I know that, you talked about your mom earlier, like you've had that role model too. So, I've got some big feelings of big thoughts right now because Saturday's coming. You're going to meet your son by Saturday. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Honestly, that is something he has said for years. Like before we were married, before we, really realistically talked about kids, that was kind of the first time that he really made me think about that of, if we have a kid, if I ever have a child who struggles with anxiety or depression or, anything mental health, I will have such a different lens and a more helpful lens, I think, coming to it than a parent who doesn't struggle with anxiety, and like we talked about my mom, she had no frame of reference. Not only did she have no resources, but she had no frame of reference. She had no idea what that felt like, other than she knew how real it felt for me, but she did not know what that felt like. And so I hope that my son and my future children don't struggle with anxiety, but realistically, a lot of us do in different capacities. And I think me being able to have that experience and to be able to help him or her future in that way, I just think it will be helpful if I need to pull from that.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be a great advocate for them because I think that you learned so well how to be an advocate for yourself, and I think that you can model what it looks like to care for yourself well. And that is so huge. And it just makes me wonder, like, how having that trust in yourself of, like, knowing that you have your own back changes the way that, like, you look at yourself and how you even respond to situations that make you anxious,
Absolutely. And that has absolutely changed for me over the years. Yeah. Just the way that I talk to myself and think about myself with anxiety has changed so much. So I think that's so spot on.
Guys, it is so dang cold in St. Louis right now. The air has been dry for what feels like forever, and so has my skin. And if you are also finding yourself flaring up with eczema irritation and you're looking for something to soothe your red, itchy skin, you have got to try GladSkin. GladSkin is a new kind of skin treatment that's made for people of all ages who have eczema-prone, acne-prone, or rosacea-prone skin. They use a revolutionary smart protein called microbalance that targets the imbalance in your skin's microbiome, so your skin skin can finally actually heal. GladSkin with Microbalance is steroid-free and approved by the National Eczema Foundation. It's even gentle enough for babies ages 3 months and up. So if you are a new mama like I am, that is definitely something that you want to keep in mind for your little one. So start your journey to stronger and healthier skin today with GladSkin. They're offering our listeners 15% off plus a free shipping on your first order at gladskin.com/simplified. That's gladskin.com/simplified for 15% off plus free shipping. gladskin.com/simplified.
All right, Liz. Well, in the spirit of all of our conversation episodes, let's have some rapid fire. Yeah.
Let's do it. That sounds like a perfect way to put a bow on this.
Yeah, exactly. Put a bow on mental health. It's a little hard, you know what I mean? So what's your favorite way to give yourself like some quick self-care? What does that look like for you?
Oh, good question. I am known to sneak away to my bedroom for like 5 minutes. If I can feel myself starting to get anxious, for some reason, my bedroom is like my safe space. And I will either sit on my phone and play a word game for 5-10 minutes or close my eyes for 5-10 minutes. I need just a second to step away and tune everything out and just sit by myself for a minute. Immediately starts to bring me back down. And that's, again, something I never knew about myself until the last several years. But it's I know that's an odd self-care thing, but it is very crucial for me when I feel myself starting to get anxious.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that kind of recalibration, that's a great life hack. You know what I mean? Like knowing that's an out that you can give yourself, just be like, hey.
Exactly.
5 minutes,
and
whatever.
It doesn't have to be an hour. It literally 5-10 minutes. Let me regroup. And then I will take another stab at it.
No, I think that's so smart. I usually turn on like a Calm app meditation and it's like 10 minutes and it almost like makes me fall asleep by the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
So like me, I know you love a good TV show. What are you watching right now?
Oh, do I?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if other people who are in relationships have 2 TV shows running concurrently.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a TV show that I watch only by myself, and then there's the show that David and I watch together. And they are always very different. So currently I am rewatching ER. Yes, ER from the 90s. George Clooney. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I am a sucker for medical drama, which, probably does not help my anxiety because then I think every ache and pain I feel is, a tumor. Definitely not helpful, but I enjoy it. So that's my me show. And then David and I are watching The Last of Us right now on HBO.
Oh.
Yeah, which
is so good.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued. We're a couple episodes in and I'm very intrigued.
I haven't seen episode 2 yet, but the pilot is like a masterclass in storytelling.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Okay. I know you're also a fan of Jen Hatmaker. I'm going to ask you the question she asked all of her podcast guests at the very end. So what this week is saving your life right now?
Is this a cop-out if I say lists?
No.
Writing lists for me this week have been saving my butt. I am, like I said, someone who likes to, in my brain, everything just slams in all at once. And so I, for the last several weeks, have been thinking of all of the things that need to get done before I go to the hospital and have a baby. And just getting it out of my brain and writing it on paper, or even if I don't have paper with me, putting it in my notes app and just dumping it, letting it out of my brain and onto something, and then tackling each thing one at a time. It has been just such a lifesaver.
I love that.
Shameless plug, grab your Simplified swag today, but really lists. And even if you're not a paper person as much as a digital person, my notes app, always.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Just an easy way to keep track of that stuff.
Well, this was fantastic and super helpful, I think, to a lot of us. So thanks, Liz.
Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, this is Amy. I'm coming to you from the future, but I just wanted to let you know, remember how Liz was saying that she was having a baby on Saturday? Well, actually, the day after we recorded this episode, she went into labor and had a beautiful little boy named Bennett with the cutest red hair that you have ever seen. So we're just so excited for Liz and Bennett and David, and cannot wait for Liz to join us back here on the podcast in a couple months when she gets back from maternity leave.
All right, y'all. Let me say a blessing over you as you gear up to get back to your day. Wherever you are, I hope you know that you're not alone. And you don't have to do anything in this life alone either. There's help for you. There's hope for you. There's a hand for you to hold on to. I want you to know that voice in your head that says you don't know anything, or you can't do anything right, or you're going to mess everything up. That voice is wrong. Because you are strong and you are brave. You are loved and delighted in just the way that you are right now. So this is the part of the episode where we usually give you a little tip that you can tuck in your pocket and take with you. So here's what I've got for you today. When anxiety starts to creep into your brain, it can feel like the loneliest place to be. But you don't have to deal with those feelings by yourself. You might feel better if you reach out to a friend, your partner, or another loved one to let them know that you're struggling. They can't really fix it, and you're probably not even asking them to, but I find that just telling David, hey, I'm starting to feel some anxiety creep in, helps me feel better. And just saying those words out loud or even just in a text helps me feel a tiny bit lighter because I know the person I love can and will support me through it. So right now, try to think about the person you want to reach out to when you feel those feelings begin to creep in. I promise you, they want to be there for you when you need them. Well, hey, thanks for listening to the Simplified podcast. If you struggle with anxiety like me, I hope you remember you are not alone. And there is someone who wants to help you right now, I promise. You can find show notes for this episode over at emilylay.com for more info on links and resources I mentioned here, and you can shop the entire collection of Simplified planners and products. You can also follow me on Instagram at Liz M. Holtzman, where you can follow my journey in work and as a new mom. You can also follow our brand at Simplified for tons of simplicity tips and inspiration to get you through the day. Thanks for being here, you guys. If you want conversations like this every week, click the follow button on our show wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you liked what you heard today, leave a review. That helps other people find the show too. That's all I've got for you today, guys. Be sure to tune in next week for more Simplified goodness. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.